Welcome into a spooky edition of Kadam's Corner. It is Friday the 13th. We have a great topic today. We're talking about horror games. Resident Evil, though, that kind of kicked it off for horror games, I would say.
1996. Developer Capcom, publisher Capcom. Yeah, I mean, it is the granddaddy of all horror that started off. If anything, you could say it revigorated maybe was it dying then? I don't know, but revigorated the zombie genre for games and movies alike, I think, in my opinion.
I'm coming out polite tonight and raising my hand. I'm waiting patiently.
No, you go ahead. You fire away.
Yeah. All right. What about Doom, though, and Castle? What's Wolfenstein, sir?
No, you are not wrong. No, you're not wrong at all.
Right?
Doom, careful.
Predecessor-ish.
Resident Evil 1996 was actually supposed to be a sequel to a game called Sweet Home 1989.
Alabama?
You fucking beat me to the punch, dude.
Fire away.
Yo,
He's
Giz,
quick,
I like having you here, man. This is a bunch of shit I would have never looked up, spoken about.
That man actually does work.
I appreciate you. No, this is a genuine compliment.
But yeah, Sweet Home 1989. It's actually based off of the same name, a horror film from Japan of the same name. I think it came out the same year. Supposed to be a sequel. When it was first proposed to whoever the head of Capcom was at the time, or whatever the small band of developers, they originally kind of hesitant to do it, and then by the time they came around to doing it, they lost the licensing for Sweet Home, so they had to create the whole new universe of what we have now as Resident Evil. It's amazing to think how terrified you were as a kid looking at those graphics, and you're just like, I can't believe it. You know what I mean? So it's
fucking just Roblox zombies chasing you down.
Oh my god! And then just the
you don't know what zombies are gonna look like, man. That could be what they look like.
That's true. That's true.
Dead Space was fucking fantastic in the Xbox 360 era. I had a real good time playing that game. That was like an introduction of Zero G. There was like those Zero G gun battles where you're just kind of fucking floating. Yeah. It was sick. I love that idea. And the oxygen tank system was really cool and fresh. It kind of kept you moving from destination to destination.
Prey, Prey. You're some asshole running around some weird center or space center, trying to emulate the powers of random aliens that you have captured, or the group that you're working for have captured. Obviously they get loose in this fucking place, and you run around and you try to escape and survive. It's one of those genres, horror, for me, that it's a hard pull. It's not easy to play those types of games. I know, like, the newer ones that came out are like multiplayer, and it's like a grand version of hide and go seek. To me, that's not that fun. I'm not firing up the PlayStation to play hide and go seek with fucking Jason Voorhees running around after me, or whatever the case may be. But yeah,
World War Z, I think it might be available for PlayStation. I know, but it's kind of like a zombie. It's like a Left 4 Dead.
The book and the movie. I didn't know they had a game.
No, yeah, they got a game and it's like a zombie horde shooter, but it's
like a third-person shooter.
Yeah, it's a third-person
first person,
but it's I don't know. It's got a lot more to it. I feel like that Left 4 Dead and other games don't. A lot more cinematic, like oh shit moments, I guess we'll call them, and all that. But I mean, I guess if I was going for favorites, I probably would have picked like Outlast. But that is more like a hide and seek game, a little more darker and brutal. There's two of them, but you want to talk about scary? That's a pretty scary game. All it gives you is like a camcorder. It is, like D-Block mentioned, it is a fucking hide and seek. You can't hurt your enemies in any way. You can hinder them, you can slow them down, but you can't. There's no, if you get caught, that's it.
I thought the SilentHill movie was pretty dope too, but the game itself, I mean, I thought it was terrifying, and the story was interesting. And the villains are scary as hell in that. They're not just like zombies. They're like the nurses, which I've talked about before.
Yeah.
Dude, with the big, like, fucking weird head and the
triangle face.
Yeah.
Triangle head. Pyramid head. Pyramid Head. Sorry.
Yeah,
Pyramid
they
Head.
had some cool villains that scared the shit out of you, and just the feeling of it, because like everything was what, covered in ashes
Yeah.
Fog type ash.
Yeah,
You know, you reminded
those
me with
creepy
those
nurses, right?
Yeah, you reminded me with those nurses. I take back what I said about Outlast. I want to say that one of my favorite horror games is Condemned Criminal Origins for Xbox 360. That is a fucking gem of a game. And they had this scene with mannequins where you walked in this room and like you'd hear some noise, and if you failed to turn around you wouldn't see it, but if you turned around the mannequins would shift and follow you around the room. And I remember it blew my mind as a kid and instantly became a classic. But you reminded me of that. The nurses from Silent
like that
Hill,
Pan's Labyrinth dude who's like got the hands with the
yeah. Oh, but yeah, those nurses when they would do that creepy like twitch move and yeah, absolutely
good, man. I want to talk about that.
That shit was gross.
That's disgusting.
Would you rather spend a week defending yourself in Raccoon City or a week defending yourself in Silent Hill?
Raccoon City.
Oh yeah, right. Seems like the
just
easiest
there.
one. Yeah, well, yeah.
I'd rather
you get the worst of, or we'll say the best of both worlds in this case, which is not good. But
well, isn't the character you play as in Silent Hill, like they don't have powers like I guess the people do in Resident Evil, but Resident Evil they don't really either. It's just the Mila Djokovic in the movie does. Like in the game, you're just running around with a handgun and some herbs you mix together.
I mean, they give you some pretty tricked out guns, but they give you a pretty small inventory. So I mean,
what was the dinosaur one that was like those?
Dino Crisis, and that's funny you mentioned that because I remember you're the one who introduced me to that. Actually, you probably don't remember the scene, but I remember you actually brought over Resident Evil. I think it was on a jam-packed CD, which was like a CD that had a bunch of demos.
I thought you were about to say it was on a Tuesday. I was about to sign off. I was
you're
doing too much.
No. I don't know if you guys remember that they had like jam-packed CDs, which were like a bunch of demos on one disc, and it had Resident Evil and Dino Crisis on.
I do remember that.
And you played Dino Crisis, and I was like, I didn't even know it existed. I was like, holy!
You got
fuck.
like 15 minutes of the game. It was like betas before.
Right. Yeah. That's actually what introduced me into Metal Gear. Was a jam-packed disc fucking that had Metal Gear on it, dude. So
I don't remember that, but I don't remember what I did yesterday. So
Alanwake. Does anybody remember that game?
Yes, sir.
Film, more of a thriller, I would say, right? Would you agree? It's kind of like this. Do you remember The Window with Johnny Depp, The Secret Window, or whatever the fuck it was called?
Yeah.
Very similar storyline. If you met that with like Twin Peaks and maybe a bit of Far Cry 5, the evil in the game was called the darkness, right? And it would take over like animals, objects, and people. And that was your enemies, right?
Okay.
So it could be this guy over here, he could be all right, or is he going to attack me? I don't know what's going on. You can't damage these people, right? Unless you use your flashlight. So your flashlight worked as your reticle. You had to use that to like bring down a shield essentially. And then you could do some damage to him with like a pipe or a gun or whatever you had.
Back in the day, they made an Alien game based off of the Alien movies. So a lot of it was like, stealth sections where you got to creep by it. You're using various tools to like try to distract it and get to various points on the map. But it was a dope game if you like the Alien movies and thought those were scary growing up, which probably all of us did because that's just classic. But yeah, Alien Isolation,
great game. Very smart AI in that game.
Yeah,
it'd get you.
They pick up on shit too, so you couldn't do the same tactic over and over again. They would eventually realize what you were doing and like be kind of waiting for you. So you'd have to
remember your patterns.
It would get you too. You'd be sitting there.
One of my favorite things about Resident Evil, and that's who I'm kind of dressed up here, is the what are you buying?
Oh, the stranger. Oh yeah, yes.
That's the dude is straight creepy. He's got like shit just in his jacket, and he comes out. He's like, stranger.
I haven't played. I think he's only in the fourth one, but I know in Village, like you mentioned, I think a merchant shows up, but I don't think it's the same one. And he's a big fat boy too. He's like fucking massive. But I think it might introduce some type of like merchant guild. I don't know yet, but I think there might be a network.
Yeah, I know he's in the fourth one. I don't know if he's in other ones.
He's a namesake in the fourth one. I love him in the fourth one, dude. The Warzone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a horror game playing solo. with the headset on, nobody else is home, and you're just like walking around because you got nobody to save you, man.
I don't know how our fans think about this, and they're probably like, wow, this kid's not really about that life. I feel like Call of Duty Solo is the worst game in the entire world. I like don't ever want to do it. There's nothing fun. Like, part of the fun for me is like fucking around with you guys and being like, wow, why'd you just do that dumb shit? Or oh, you didn't see that guy? But like sweating by myself in silence, like listening for footsteps, just seems atrocious to me. So I'm gonna say this: it's not a horror game, but as a black guy who grew up in Brooklyn, and anybody who's grown up in the city, it could very well be a very real life horror situation. But the Warriors game, you're literally
fantastic call.
A gang running around the streets of New York trying to make it back to your neighborhood that's trying to get murdered by every other gang in the city. So literally everywhere you go is a fight, or you got to figure it out, or you got to sneak by if you can. Just gang warfare in New York City in the 70s. I mean, enough said. It's a horror scene.
You got to get through the Furies to make it to Coney Island.
Yeah, it's a horror scene. You got the fucking baseball brawlers chasing you down with bats.
That's
you
the
got
Furies, brother.
Yeah, you got the whole New York City scene out there.
Gizzy, I had a question for you.
Yes, sir.
There was a PS2 game.
Hunter Reckoning.
No. It was like Saw, but you run
Crash
around,
Bandicoot.
No. You run around like a serial killer.
It was like Wanted. It was Wanted or something like that. It's a Rockstar game as well. I have that. Here, let me find it.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's
you have it.
I do have it because it was on the PlayStation Store at one point, and I scooped it up for like $3.
I just you can like run around and do different like ways of killing people. You can get like a plastic bag over the head and
it's
Manhunt.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's the same exact.
great.
It's like the same exact engine that they use for Warriors. So it almost looks exactly that old school like blotchy bullshit. Manhunt. That's a dope game. That's
you want to talk about eyes wide open at 12 o'clock at night, fresh off the shelf at Blockbuster, baby. I've never seen any blowing my skull out of my head, dude. I was just like, I didn't know video games allowed this, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that shit was
hopefully
dark,
my
man.
Dukes don't come through.
They let you do anything in that.
Anything. Yeah.
I would honorably mention Gears of War and that entire franchise. Not a typical
your seat a bit.
Yeah, there was some moments that were pretty, just the overall feel of it. Like, it was so fucking hopeless throughout that entire series. Yeah. There was no light at the end of the tunnel ever. You find Dom's wife all fucked up in like the third one. Like, that shit was so rough. It was horrible. But there was little moments of hope with like the Hammer of Dawn and shit. I'll say that fucking over and over on this podcast gladly. Hammer of Dawn, for good measure. That was
I guess it's something specific to that game.
Yeah, dude, you gotta check it. It's like a satellite nuke, dude. It's great.
Bro, you said it like
a little laser.
Like Millinor was gonna pop through your fucking wall or something.
Yeah, dude, I just put my hand up and it fucking comes
said
through.
It twice, like the first time you were expecting it to work. You were like, Hammer of Dawn. You know.
Just fucking put my hand up and it works.
I do love
that game was.
You can edit it in, man.
That game was.
Hammer of Dawn is great.
It was gritty, dirty. Like I said, hopeless, completely hopeless all the way through the series.
That has been our horror episode. My candles are out. My hood is off. I had it on trying to look spooky, but it didn't really land.
There's 2 this year, by the way.
And this
next one's in October.
Really hot. Oh, there's an October Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
It's your brother's birthday, isn't it?
That is my brother's birthday. It explains why he's the way he is. Very unlucky.
Yeah. It does.
Sammy.
Some full moon shit going on here.
Keep gaming, guys.
Yeah.